Hi, today I am talking with Jonathan Bush, and Jonathan is a candidate for the GOP primaries in Maine. So he's running for governor. He's involved in healthcare technology industry and probably most widely known as one of the co-founders and CEO, former CEO of athenahealth. Jonathan, how are you today?
John, I'm doing great. I'm glad to be on with you and love the idea that you're floating while we're talking.
Yeah. So, what did I leave out about your background here? What do you have going on? And you were an
Well,
EMT.
I
You
mean,
were
there's little pieces. I'm a father of seven. I'm a veteran. I'm an entrepreneur, started multiple companies and helped dozens of companies get set up in Maine. But most of my life has been as a CEO, and most of that as the CEO of Athena Health, which, as you pointed out, is in the healthcare and built about 1,000 jobs in Mid-Coast Maine. And it's the thing that got me sort of onto the idea of running for governor because that little area around where Athena was in Midcoast is in Midcoast, Maine, is just doing so much better economically than all the areas uh, around it. And I said, what the heck is going on here? Why are all the store windows empty? Why are all the mills closed? And it just became this frenzy with my wife and me. We are suffocating the American dream for regular people in Maine, and it's unnecessary. It's a self-inflicted wound. So we said, well, rather than continue with another startup, I should make it easier for regular people to have that experience. And so we're paying it forward. That's what we're doing here.
perfect. So that's great. My first question is a question that is very, very important to Maynards. It's very, very important to what people associate with Maine, and it's about the moose hunt. And
Yeah.
the moose hunt, as I'm sure you're aware, there has been some talks about regulatory change on how that lottery is being handled. What's your stance on the moose hunt and the moose lottery and what they're doing with the guides and the guide
Yeah, listen,
industry?
our harvest way is always way under the total number of allowed in the lottery, whether it's does or moose. There's no need to further restrict it. In fact, I think there's a real possibility when I'm governor of getting some private landowners to allow hunting on Sunday. The idea that I am not allowed to hunt on my own land on Sunday, so that people far away who will never be on my land feel better, is crazy. I think there's a passive aggressive tweak to all of this, which is people virtue signaling about how against guns they are. I don't really think it has anything to do with moose or hunting. You've got moose, we underhunt moose, and the result is they get diseased. And you see that, and it's tragic. Same thing with deer. So there's a lot more we could be doing with hunting in Maine. We have a great thing going on compared to other states, but it could get better.
Okay, perfect. Well, now that we got the important stuff out of the way, we're going to talk about the Second Amendment a little bit. So, just give me a quick overview. What's your broad stroke view? Second Amendment. What's your philosophy?
Look, I'm a free country guy. I want to be the governor so that I can every single day make people more free and more able to take home more of their money to do what free people want to do with it. And I think in Maine, we've attracted some lovely people from states that don't have guns or that are restrictive in lots of ways. Freedom is restricted in lots of ways. We got a lot of people that came up from New York City, for example, during COVID, and they've taken it as an article of faith that goodness correlates with controlling other people and virtue signaling. And they've gotten into the Second Amendment in a way that's increasingly concerning. We created a 72-hour restriction on gun sales. Most gun stores I talk to, the best gun sales are the impulse buy on a hunting weekend. It's not a desperate guy trying to shoot something up. It's not someone who doesn't already have 3, 4, 5 guns at home. It's a guy who says, oh, that is beautiful. If I had had that yesterday. and they buy it and they take it home. And that's what keeps these wonderful stores that are also base camps for bait and gear and maps and insight on where's a good place to go are being suffocated. They're being suffocated in a virtue signaling sort of fashion game that people who have nothing to do with hunting or freedom are playing, using them as a game piece. And it's enraging. I mean, it's really an example of a deeply kind of class warfare kind of manipulation game that has existed in other states and not in Maine, and is coming to Maine and must be sent back home.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. Part of that push that basically, I'll say, infected Maine, and this is something that I've seen, my readers have seen as well, is you now have a red flag law in Maine.
Another example. Yeah.
You used
Red
to have
flag is another example of a virtue signaling beauty contest. John, you got me fired up. This is a law that's in order to protect people. They always use safety. So safety, because they think it's a trump card. If safety was first, we'd never go to sea, right, John? You're talking to me from the sea. It's not the safest thing you could be doing, but we live and breathe as a society because you are at sea. It is not safety first. But this is an example of using safety in a way that creates no safety at all. Every police department in Maine is against this red flag law. This is a law that says that if anybody, your ex-girlfriend, decides to put a scarlet letter on you, the police have to take your guns away until you prove yourself. It's the inverse of innocent till proven guilty, till you prove yourself safe. What on earth makes anyone think that's safe? We have a hard time enforcing our yellow flag laws, which I do agree with. If a doctor says this guy's not safe with a gun, we should probably not have him have a gun. But that's because someone has been diagnosed. This is anybody, literally an ex-girlfriend, can just order your guns taken away from afar. It can be abused. It will certainly be abused. The police will never be able to live up to it. So we'll have another example of another law that the police can't keep up with, creating the opportunity for a little more chaos in our lives. It's a really bad development for Maine, and it's another motivator for me to run for governor. This is not safety. This is virtue signaling at the expense of freedom.
And piggybacked on top of that, I guess there's a budget push to add funds into the state level to have SWAT officers be the ones to enforce these.
Yeah, right. Escalate it even further. Yeah.
Okay.
So. I mean, it is such a bad. And, there are people who will come out and say it, we're doing this to get rid of all guns in America. Are we up to 350 million guns? So they're going to get 350 million guns out of free people's hands. This is a tiny group of people, largely in cities, who have never seen or held or shot a gun, who believe that they will protect people they don't know by taking other people they don't know and making them less free. It is an insane sort of Pol Pot-like state encroachment on regular people's lives.
Absolutely. So we're going to change gears a little bit here.
Sure.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you the topics.
I'm going to calm down, I promise.
I was going to say, I'm not going to say the topics are less polarizing, but maybe they are, maybe they aren't.
Yeah.
There was a number of legislative pushes. Some of these failed. Some of them are still being pushed around. And you know how it goes. If it's failed once, they'll stay on top of it for years.
For sure.
Absolutely. So we're just going to go down some of these topics one by one, and, we'll go through them. So the first one that we have here is so-called large capacity magazine bans.
Yeah.
It's something that, failed to get through.
Yeah. I look, each one of these is another gimmick. They give the bump stock, the capacity magazine, the printed gun. We're a free country. The idea that because you have 8 rounds instead of 18 rounds in the magazine, that's something good or bad, or that people are more safe, is just the most absurd idea. You could take a fired up pickup truck and kill tons more people if you want to kill people. There's just nothing to this. It's another example of virtue signaling. I need something to be able to say for my constituents. I'm afraid of my constituents. So I come up with these gimmicks, and try to get the victims of my overregulation to be small enough that they can't fight for themselves. Oh, nobody has a high capacity magazine. It's only 10 guys. So we'll just suffocate those 10 guys for starters. And then we'll work our way back up to the next group of 10 guys. And then the next group of 10 guys. This is states have used this to take apart free people going back millennia. Best to take on the fight when it starts. There's no immediate and urgent use in a deer hunt where if you're lucky, you get to fire off 3 rounds to have 20 rounds. But there's also no reason to go stop it. There's no reason to go stop it, except if you are working on a larger program of building a base and a fundraising network to suffocate the Second Amendment. There's zero objective causation for sure, but not even correlation between these magazines and anyone's safety or any murder or any crime. It's insane. You want to stop crime? Teach people to use guns. My wife had a bunch of employees in Massachusetts, and they're all talking about gun control. I said, really? When was the last time you held a gun? And it's crickets. Nobody at the table. And I was like, hold on. Nobody here has held a gun? And so we had a corporate retreat. We took them up to Maine. We got my skeet thrower. We got shotguns. And boy, the howl of joy from these physicians of being able to connect with that clay pigeon. I believe what we need to be doing, in addition to fighting these encroachments, these little manipulative political gimmicks to get rid of the Second Amendment, is to be better evangelists. Don't just be against gun control. But one of my favorite senators was Wyoming Senator Alan Simpson, I was at a table with him, and this woman asked, "What do you think of gun control?" I said, "Well, I'm for it. Boy, if you can't control your gun by the time you're 10 or 11 years old, your parents ought to have a talking to. Everybody should control their gun." And I really think there's something to that. I think we need to be, everybody in Maine, every grade school needs to have a rifle day. And they need to get out and see what this thing is. Let them experience it. Let them actually demystify what a gun is, what it's used for, what it represents, the personal power and the connection. You think about the people you know, like who's most likely, if you take all the people you know and then you break it out, who's most likely to run towards a fire, run towards a criminal? Who's most likely to run away from one? And then peel back the tape and say, how many of those that are most likely to run towards a fire have a gun and know how to use it? Really? I mean, I'm sure you'll find one beautiful peacenik who,
right,
who will run towards that fire. And I love that guy too. Second Amendment doesn't mean everyone's got to go get a gun. It means they're allowed to. But that willingness to stand up against tyranny or insanity does correlate with willingness to learn how to properly use a gun. And I think Maine needs to be a place where all the kids know how to use a gun.
Cool.
Especially the Democrats' kids. Let them just know. I'm not saying everyone's got to go buy one. Just know. I think when they know, it'll change everything.
Well, yeah, I think education is incredibly important. Just aside from demystifying, but from a safety perspective,
safety perspective as well. I mean, the number of kids that get a hold of a gun that have been kept away from it, and then a calamity happens in that house. Absolutely, every kid should know about it. Should know exactly how it works, exactly what it's for, exactly when to touch it and when not to. The idea of shrinking away from it as a solution, or trying to make every people you don't even know that you've never met shrink away from it by force of law, is the least responsible thing I could possibly imagine.
So one of the measures that didn't get past the finish line here was a so-called safe storage law. So how do you feel about
if you happen to want to have a gun to protect your home, and then it's going to take you a minute and a half to make the gun useful? I mean, it's another example. I don't know what to say. I mean, it's hard to, you have to say, look, here's some things. Gravity makes things fall to the earth, right? Increasing supply reduces price. That I am having to say these things is a little crazy. A gun that is unusable as a gun doesn't protect you as well as a gun that is usable as a gun. If you make a law saying you can have a gun, but it can't be usable to protect your home, it doesn't protect your home.
Perfect. Another push was a study on lead ammunition use. And do you see any potential?
Oh, there was another group you forgot. It's also, they're trying to make it illegal to buy coffee makers on Amazon that are plastic, because forever chemicals are used in the plastic, and maybe when the water goes by, some of the forever chemicals. So people they want to make it so you're not allowed to buy coffee makers. And to your point, John, maybe not allowed to buy lead bullets, because that little tiny piece of lead buried in the side of a mountain might, I don't know, give an ant lead poisoning or something. Again, these are insane. Isn't this the group that said follow the science? Like, where's the science in these little pieces of lead that are fired so rarely? I mean, the richest gun owner in the world with his own sand pit may fire a pound of lead a year. The idea that is some sort of environmental concern just blows. It strains credulity beyond. We've already given it too much time, but we've got to fill the hour.
Mills allowed a law to go into effect on so-called ghost guns and unserialized frames and receivers. What's your opinion on the ghost guns and
Yeah, I mean, this is they're working at the edges. Is there a place where they get? I don't know. I mean, I don't believe people are allowed to sell guns to each other right now at gun shows, etc. I don't understand when does it become a gun and how do you define that? It just seems like an opportunity to climb up the tailpipe and kill the Second Amendment. So I don't believe it's a significant thing. I don't believe actually that it's statistically relevant. So I see no merit in it. I think it's just part of this game.
Okay, perfect.
That may change over time, but right now it's like, I don't get it. Okay. Now, remember, you can't own, if you're under yellow flag, you can't have a gun in your house, ghost or otherwise. Like there are people who can't have guns and they have to obey those laws. And if not, they go to jail. And I'm not saying like let them off the hook. We have laws. Like if you're not a safe guy, you get rules that safe guys don't get. So I'm all for that. But I think trying to inflict all the safe people, all the 99.9% of people that are reasonable, responsible, patriotic, caring people, painting them with the same brush just for safety's sake is impractical and downright politically dangerous.
Okay. Well, one of the things that you talked about there was holding criminals accountable. There's a bill that's moving right now that talks about restoring the rights to nonviolent felons. What's your view on, rights restoration?
Yeah, I think it's fine. I mean, I think right now we have another problem, which is that in Maine, we don't enforce our laws. So you've got tons and tons and tons of people who are actively criminals that are not in jail, not even being taken through court. There's a thing called deferred disposition that district attorneys will use to basically make it look like they have a clean docket when they've just let criminals go without processing them. We got to enforce our laws. And once we're enforcing our laws, if you go to jail, do your time and are released, maybe there's a little program you go through, but 100%. I don't think there's any reason that somebody for life, you don't take their vote away for life. You don't take any of their, you get a sentence. It's a certain amount of time. And then after that, you're good. Good people do bad things and they build back. I mean, that is the entire Christian story. We are all fallen people. The idea that somebody gets a permanent scarlet letter for life for something is, it's not the point of the system.
Okay, perfect. there's one other piece of legislation here. There's a budget amendment that would add, and it's a Democratic amendment that would add over a
Oh,
half a
amazing.
million dollars in funds to provide state legislators home security equipment. What's your thought on that?
The creep is everywhere. It's like that movie, the fog or whatever, the cloud, the blob. It's creeping in. The state legislatures need healthcare coverage. Oh, they need more days. They need more pay. They need securities. Oh, and here's that key word again: safety. Oh, for safety, because we're so divided. Safety. You're not in more danger than anybody else, buddy. And you don't need all these little things. You're creeping in, you're eclipsing the American dream in the name of representing people. It's a poisonous behavior. And we ought to lovingly, put it to bed.
Okay. Well, that's it on the actual legislation.
Yeah.
There is a rumor, though, that
there's a meta thing, John, here. In the last 8 years, we've added 3,337 new laws. The Second Amendment is just one area where freedom is being encroached. The overall encroachment of freedom in general is just, it's making me spend my life savings trying to earn a job that pays $70,000 a year because it's so bad. In Maine, it's illegal to have a campfire that's more than 3 feet wide. That's a law in Maine. It's illegal to take care of more than 3 people, 3 children in your house without a 200-page application. Everywhere you look, the Second Amendment is just one place where freedom is slowly being suffocated in the name of virtue. And I, with all my being, with all my soul and heart, I call bullshit on that premise. You protecting me by taking my freedom away, I call bullshit.
Okay. There's a ballot initiative rumor. There's a rumor. This is going to be just like the red flag laws that came across, right? It was a ballot initiative from the ether, wherever it came from.
Yeah.
It's rumored that there's going to be a so-called assault weapons ban referendum introduced. I guess what would be your, thoughts on?
I'm sure they will. The Democratic Socialists of America. If you down in Louisiana or wherever you are, and you vote, if you donate to the Democratic Socialists of America website, that money is spent in Portland, Maine, on ballot initiatives because they believe they have a foothold here because of all the Brooklynites that came up and, love the restaurants. I do too. I don't know why we have to create a totalitarian state just to have good restaurants. But I'm quite sure there'll be ballot initiatives going over the top all day long. And one of the things the governor of Maine has to do is organize, is register Republicans, go door to door, make phone calls, raise money. There are plenty of people with money that believe that freedom is being encroached and that need to step up and fund hearts and minds efforts to reverse that curse. And that's part of the job here. This is a front line on the case of socialism versus freedom as a way of helping regular people. Both sides believe. These guys have made a ton of hay saying they're helping disenfranchised people, poor people, as we have created a giant spike in the number of disenfranchised and poor people as a result of these policies. It's a teachable moment right now for us to say, hey, give us money. We will put the puppy's nose in the puppy poop that the puppy just created by trying to encroach on freedom and the marketplace. And we will create an expansion of freedom in the marketplace in Maine. This is a great time to be a Republican in Maine because we are on the outs, but we are so right. And the data is all over the place proving us right.
Okay. Well, I've got two last points or questions.
Yeah.
Pretty easy. This next one is, what am I leaving on the table about the Second Amendment that I didn't bring up that you want to get out there?
I snuck it in. The thing I wanted to get in is the Second Amendment is the canary in the coal mine. It's not the coal mine. There's a larger problem in the campfires and and here's another way. instead of restricting freedom, what they'll do is they'll buy their favorite product with tax dollars. So we had a Democrat governor candidate who put together a program. She likes heat pumps. So she bought 100,000 heat pumps and gave them to people in Maine. Oh, I'm helping you. I'm giving you. They crowded out the other means of heating and cooling your house, including these wells that do so much of a better job. But the people building those wells got suffocated out of the market by state dollars. Doctors are being suffocated out of the market. Doctors with their own surgery centers that are cheaper are being suffocated out of the market. So one way you destroy freedom is you restrict it with law, but the other way is you use taxpayer dollars to chase free entities out of the state, chase federal licensed farm dealers out of the state with state dollars. This is a tactic that you also should cover.
Last question here, Jonathan. It's a real easy one. Give me your final pitch, your race, and then wrap it up with your socials, your call to action, and your website.
Okay, ready? I'm Jonathan Bush. I'm a husband and father of 7. I'm a veteran. I'm an entrepreneur. And for the last 30 years, I've been a CEO. Maine desperately needs to reduce taxes, shred the crazy laws that John and I have been talking about, and shrink Augusta. The question is, who's the right guy to do it? I say we need an outsider to lobbying, and we need a CEO, a turnaround CEO. Since being a platoon leader in the Army, leading people on a mission is all I have ever done. Getting the mission right, shredding the distractions, bringing in the best people, getting rid of the weak people, motivating the team. Maine's government is poorly led. We've discussed all the encroachment, the misuse of government to attain people's personal agendas rather than increase freedom and after-tax wealth for average people. By contrast, my leadership is well established. Over 1,000 Mainers have built careers and lives in jobs I created in the Mid-Coast. This is what separates me from the lobbyists I am running against, and it is why I am asking you to go to jonathanbush.org, sign up, and vote. Thanks a lot. Thanks, John.
Jonathan, thank you so much. It was a pleasure, and I'm sure we'll talk again in the future.
All right, John. Thank you for having me. Smooth sailing.